Business in the 217 with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. And we love talking about the local business community. And the group that's got their eyes on it closely is the Springfield Business Journal, and Michelle Ownbey is the publisher. Michelle, thanks for taking time with us.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. So we'll start with some sad news, but end with some sweet news. Got a whole bunch going on in the area, and in Lincoln, that's a sad news story with Lincoln College set to close after 157 years. Students up there not too happy. What's going on there?
Yes, this is actually another blow for the city of Lincoln. You may recall that a couple months ago, Lincoln Christian University had announced that they were going to be eliminating their traditional undergrad programs and residential living, and they were shifting to more of a model to provide ministry training exclusively. And now Lincoln College, the other higher education institution, has announced that it is closing completely at the end of the spring semester. And ironically, Lincoln College said that they had record enrollment in fall 2019, but COVID really dealt them a bad blow between increased expenses to meet the safety protocols and then declining enrollment as students decided to either postpone their education or leave entirely due to situations related to the pandemic. So, as you said, very sad, and certainly going to have a big economic impact on the town of Lincoln with two different colleges now, one closing and one cutting back significantly.
And of course, some of the big names that came out of Lincoln College, people are familiar with, some sports figures, including Matt Hughes from the UFC, from Hillsborough, going up to Lincoln and graduating. So it's kind of sad to see the news of Lincoln College planning on no longer offering a variety of different things after this spring semester. So we'll watch that space closely to see how the facilities are going to be maintained, if a different business comes in and takes that over, or how all that unfolds. Meanwhile, speaking of the business community here locally, Conn's Hospitality, William Vann's Coffee, they're closing but relocating. What can you tell us?
Right. A lot of people were surprised to hear this announcement the end of last week. Sunday was the last day of operations for William Vann's Coffee House, at least in its current location. Still a lot of unknowns surrounding this. They've said that they are going to relocate, but they have not announced the new location or even a time frame for reopening. They're kind of putting a pause on the coffee shop at the moment to focus on some other projects. Of course, Conn's has a lot in the works. They bought that Vinegar Hill Mall complex just last fall, and they've already started renovating that. And I had a chance to chat with Karen Conn a few days ago, and she mentioned that the plan is to take the current William Vann space and turn that into Springfield's first cidery and meadery. Oh. So that is sort of exciting. Yes. Of course, they've had a lot of success with Obed and Isaac's and the beer garden and all that, very popular, always packed, especially during the nice weather. So they're going to expand into that William Vann space, redo that building. She said it's all in the early stages, still working out some of the design. And of course, the economy is a little wacky right now, particularly for the food service industry. But the hope is, again, they bought that old Gillette farm out in Elkhart a couple years back, planted an orchard. They're planning to use the fruits from that orchard when it starts producing to make some of the ciders and meads, but then also look at partnering with other suppliers as well.
I tell you, I'm a big fan of mead and local brews, local wines. So that'll be a very welcomed addition just to the incredible things we've got going on here in and around Springfield. Talking with Michelle Ownbey, publisher of the Springfield Business Journal, here with Business in the 217 with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop. Something else we want to share with people is a national food chain setting up shop in Springfield. And no, we're not talking about Dave & Buster's. No, we're not talking about, some other, long sought after food chain. We're talking about Raising Cane's.
Yes, although they seem to have a very devoted following. A lot of folks have been quite excited since this news was announced last week. And now we're going to have the chicken trifecta there because Raising Cane's is going onto the spot where Casa Real is currently located. They're right off of West White Oaks Drive and Wabash. Of course, you've got Popeyes right there. You've got Chick-fil-A right in the area. They both always have long lines. What's interesting, though, is Raising Cane's plans to demolish that Casa Real. It's a very large building, I think about 9,000 square feet. So they're going to tear that down. Of course, they have their own prototype. They need to drive through all that. So they're not looking at being open until perhaps the second quarter of 2023. We're still about a year out. They don't even take possession of the property until June. But the good news is we are not losing Casa Real. Owner Jose Lopez is relocating, and he is going to move into the old Quaker Steak and Lube property out there in Legacy Pointe. And he said that he feels like the timing is right. Said he actually looked a few years back, there was talk of the outlet mall, and there's been buzz for quite a while about things happening in Legacy Pointe. But now it appears that the sports complex is a go. The city council allocated some incentives to help pay for it. Shields has secured naming rights, and construction is set to begin on that in the very near future. So Jose says he feels comfortable making the move out to Legacy Pointe with all that in the works.
Yeah, it's incredible news there with Casa Real and, as you called, the chicken trifecta with Raising Cane's. So good to know. And I think people are hearing all about this for the first time with Business in the 217. But if they're plugged in with the Springfield Business Journal, they can stay plugged into these items and more. Before we get to this last story here, Michelle, tell us how we can stay plugged in with the Springfield Business Journal.
Absolutely. Definitely go to springfieldbusinessjournal.com and sign up for Biz Bites. That's our weekly roundup of what's happening in the business community. And of course, follow us on social media. I will note we broke both the Raising Cane story and the William Van story last week. So we do our best to try to stay on top of what's happening out there.
So be in the know with all that's happening in and around the Springfield business community. And let's finish up with something real sweet, Michelle. Another sweetery, I don't know if that's what you call it, but the Cake Shoppe is going to be coming to town.
Yes, and this is also within walking distance of my house. Last week we talked about the Mexican bakery opening within walking distance. Now this is walking distance the other direction. The Cake Shoppe opening there on North Walnut. This is kind of the intersection of Walnut and Carpenter, a little freestanding building that's housed a couple different businesses over the years. But Julie Schuler, who's actually an Enos Park resident, one of my neighbors, is opening the Cake Shoppe this Friday. She's been, working from her home for a while, doing this with specialty cakes and that type of thing. But now she'll have a retail operation with walk-in goodies. And as the name implies, everything is going to be cake-based. So cupcakes, cake pops, cakes to go, special order cakes, all of that. And I understand there may be some free samples at the grand opening. So I've got that on my list to check out this Friday.
That is Friday, April 8th with the Cake Shoppe, a grand opening. Michelle Ownbey will be there. Michelle, thank you so much for taking time with us.
First in line. Yes.
First in line. Greatly appreciated as always. And we'll connect again next week with the Springfield Business Journal here on Business in the 217 with WMAY.